What's up, YouTube? Today we're covering the possibility of a men's rights activist in British Parliament, aka a minister. So let's get into it. We're also covering a feminist who's against it for reasons we are. Things I want to point out here. Number one, there's no such thing as misogyny. I know this because there's no definition for it. It's just a made up shame word feminists use for men. As for Andrew Tate, the reason why a lot of men go to him and respect him is for why a lot of people respect me here on this channel. Andrew Tate basically is defending men. He's putting his foot down, saying like, hey, men are the ones being oppressed here, not women. Despite what feminists like to say. And let's face it, men are being oppressed here in the West. We are, which are reasons why I'll go into later. And, well, yeah, also for the male suicide rate, that is a very serious thing, and it needs to be addressed. It's literally pretty much a silent genocide that the feminist movement has been actively promoting for quite some time now. It really is. So yeah, I think talking about men's issues and men's rights is something that needs to get in there. And unfortunately, you cannot discuss it while going over the harm men have been facing as a result of being constantly villainized by the feminist movement. The feminist movement is basically just a glorified male hate movement. That's all it is.
Debate.
Also, I want to point out that, hey, to answer the questions of what does a good man look like in today's society? Well, because of the feminist movement, the definition of a good man is basically a man who is just going to believe all these made-up sob stories and relinquish all of his wealth to any woman who says she wants it. That's why a lot of women are getting so fed up and pissy about us passport bros, because, hey, we made it clear we're not going to be spending our money on you anymore. You said you don't want us. So, we decided to get ourselves wives from overseas. We did. We did exactly what you ladies have been asking for. For several decades now, women here in the West have been saying the future is female. Men are worthless. Men should just leave. Men only want one thing. Men only think with their, you know what? Well, guess what, ladies? The majority of us men have decided to give you exactly what you asked for. After all, if studies have shown that, hey, the majority of Western men have expressed no interest in dating Western women anymore, they just don't want to do it, and they all have the same, if not similar, reasons, guess what? That reason is the common denominator. Okay, first of all, what that woman said was a flat-out lie. Men are not overrepresented anymore. In fact, we are very much being underrepresented right now because of the feminist movement. Take a good look around you, everybody. You can see, you could basically look up like thousands of shelters for women for domestic violence. But you cannot find a single shelter for men who are facing domestic violence issues. You can't. You can look up so many laws that are 100% designed to cater to women. You can. And to basically protect women. But you cannot find any laws out there that are designed specifically to help men. You can go to several institutions and find situations several institutions like a school, a business, heck, even my true red pill moment, where men were accused of something and they were declared guilty till proven innocent. But you cannot find a single case at any institution where a man made an accusation towards a woman and she was declared guilty till proven innocent. A good example is my red pill moment video, which I'll add a link in below, where I was told straight up at a church that I was a proud member of since 2016 to 2024, that I would not be allowed to continue to volunteer at that church in a way that I find enjoyable unless if I agreed to parent full-grown adult women who I have zero to no legal obligations to at all whatsoever. And if you stick and watch that video up until the very end, like it's a long one, it's about like 40 minutes, you'll see that the moment I mentioned the possibility of a consequence for this church doing this to me was so laughable to the point where the pastor who heard it started smiling so brightly, all of his teeth were showing. Quite literally. I can also tell you about another situation where when I was in school, where I basically told a girl, hey, I thought you were blind because of the way her pupils were always dilated. I don't know, maybe she was on medication or something. She made an accusation about me towards the teacher, saying Matthew called me blind, smiling and laughing as she was making the accusation, all of her teeth showing, and guess what? Teacher didn't even bother to question that. She just declared me guilty till proven innocent. Where if a boy made the exact same accusation towards a female student, you know what would happen? The teacher would just throw the accusation away. She would. So no, men are not overrepresented. We're not. We're very much underrepresented right now. Also, let's go back to male suicide rates. Here's the thing. The fact that you ladies, there's so many women like this feminist who's talking about her father who deleted himself, is essentially, well, let's backtrack. When you see so many women in droves like this, actively taking such a big, huge stance, trying to prevent the male suicide rate to be actively addressed, guess what? That is a cut and dry consciousness of guilt of your involvement within the male suicide rate. It really is. Now, I'm not going to go so far with this as to say, hey, maybe we should take away women's rights to vote like other content creators. But I am willing to say that if we're seeing so many waves of Western women here constantly and consistently putting up such powerful fronts to try to stop the male suicide rate from actively being addressed, like trying to stop it, literally making such huge confessions to consciousness of guilt of their involvement. Well, I hate to break this to you ladies, but you are literally solidifying those people's case on taking away women's rights to vote. You really are. Like, I'm not saying it's right or anything or if it's wrong, but I'm just saying what it is. By constantly putting so much of a front to try to stop the male suicide rate from being addressed, you are solidifying people's cases on why women should not have the right to vote. You are. Because you're actually confessing to consciousness of guilt of your involvement in it. You really are. You want to know where the divide is between men and women? Women have, for several decades now, have been constantly blaming men for everything. Men are just fed up with feeling ashamed for being born as men. I can tell you straight up that, hey, the fact that I got monetized on this YouTube channel is cut and dry evidence that there are so many men out there who have never heard anything good about being born a man in their entire lives. They never heard it, to the point where they are starved for it, to the point where they're literally coming out to channels like this. They are. Where, on the other hand, with women, been hearing women say so many people say so many good things about women from straight up since the day they were born. We put them on a pedestal, essentially. So yeah, we all know the real reason why there's such a huge divide. Men don't want to put up with this anymore. We don't want to feel constantly ashamed for being born a boy. We don't. Nobody seems to care. Nobody does. And we're saying, okay, you guys are not going to take our problem seriously? Fine. We're just going to go on a marriage strike. A local Western marriage strike. We're not going to marry the women anymore. We're not going to date them. We are just going to opt out. That's what we're doing. You can literally see all the data. The current marriage rates clearly show that there is an active marriage strike right now going on here in the West. There is. Men are not dating local Western women anymore. We're not. And we all have the same, if not similar, reasons. And if you want to know the reason why government officials are getting involved in it, well, let's be honest here. The current infrastructure system here in the West will clearly explain that. It will. After all, the current infrastructure system here in the West clearly shows that, hey, if the entire male workforce went on strike for a day, just one day, we would be cleaning up the mess for 3 decades. Right now, there's already a Western male strike on marriage. Local Western marriage. It hasn't gone to the male workforce just yet, but there is now an active local Western marriage strike. And that local Western marriage strike was caused by the feminist movement by promoting these horrific ways on how we're treating men. That is what's happening right now.
Going to jail.
Championing men and boys at the expense of women. Well, that's kind of funny, man, because last time I checked, women have been championing women at the expense of men. Like you ladies have been. That's the fact of the matter. You can see several cases where that is the actual case. You can. Like, for example, I heard of a podcast series where basically they were talking about trying to hold men back a year, saying that men should not participate in school for a year later than the women do. Literally discriminating men from the classrooms. Quite literally. Saying it'll be good for them because women mature faster than men. Yeah, I am pretty certain the current antidepressant prescription rates are going to completely disagree with you on that. I honestly God am. If you want to know the real reason why men are falling behind in school, well, let's face facts here. If you are going to place and constantly raise the expectations of male students to that they're just beyond human level, while simultaneously reducing the expectations for your female students to that of a child with breast, then I got news for you. It doesn't take much to start putting 2 and 2 together and figure out what is really going down here. It really does not. And yet, for some reason, despite how obvious it is, despite it being so right there in front of everybody, I find it fascinating how there are so many people, like women like this, who are just mentally incapable of looking at it. Like, I just find that just baffling. Like, I really am. Like, you can show all the evidence to women like this, to feminists like this, showing like, hey, this is what's really going down here. And yet they will still find a way to deflect and blame men. That takes an incredibly dangerous amount of brainwashing. Right there. It really does.